Thank you, Danae. Okay. And do we have Justin, or was he on a phone?
I sent him the link for this meeting, so he'll probably hop on.
We were, yeah, let's see.
Some connection issues, so.
Yeah, we had to call him in on the last one. I'm ready to do that if you haven't heard from him. Hey Justin, does this work for you being on the phone, or do you want to try again on Zoom, or?
I'll jump on the Zoom again right now.
Okay.
And,
if we can't, yeah, if we can't, I'm just going to keep you on mute. If we can't hear you, then I'll just unmute you on my phone, and then I'll hang up if we can hear you.
Okay, I'll try this now. If I hang up, I'll play right.
Okay. It was good for like half the meeting, and then audio was just awful.
Hey guys.
Great. Gotcha. Okay, we're good for now. Okay, we're going to call to order the Troy Industrial Development Authority, February 20th, 2026 meeting. We're starting at late, 10:30 in the morning. We are going to start with, do we have enough people that were at the last meeting for the minutes?
I think we had a full board.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we're good. Thank you for that reminder. So we are going to start with the approval of the minutes for the January 16th board meeting. Do we have any comments or markups to make for the record, or do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we just have some absences today. So we have Albert and Alex missing today for the record. So we're going to move into new business. We have a supplemental project authorization for 504 Broadway Holdings, LLC. If, Justin, you could give us a summary, that would be helpful.
It's muted. Maybe not.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Okay. Can you start with a summary of the supplemental project authorization for 504 Broadway Holdings?
Yeah, sure. The project's underway, and like most projects, they're experiencing cost escalations. In connection with that, they've asked the IDA to supplement their sales tax exemption to fit their actual budget and their cost escalations. So this resolution deals with a new project cost that they've submitted that would allow them to secure an additional $100,000 in sales tax exemption for the construction phase. There's no additional public hearing required for this, no seeker triggers or anything like that. It's really just a supplement to match their new budget. And the resolution would allow the IDA to extend their sales tax savings for that amount.
And I think this came to us, if anyone remembers, this was June of 2023, but it has been a little while. Okay, do we have anyone from the developer's office or Finney present on the call or in person that would like to make any statements on this, or? Okay, do we have any comments from the board or questions?
Just want to kind of reach back, because this is prior to me being on the board. So this is already a project that had been approved in the past. They broke ground approximately when?
I don't know if they've broken ground. I don't know. It's in renovation, so I don't, visibly, I don't know the answer to that. And I haven't gotten a report on that, so.
Yeah, I think it closed the end of last year.
Like they bought it from, the property was purchased from Unity Lots, right? And they got in there, had to do some structural, architectural stuff.
Yeah, the time
figure some
between
things
that
out.
and their closing was a couple of years. That was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And any other questions from anyone?
Is there, no, there is nobody from,
My question would just be, when do they, maybe, how long do they think it's going to take?
Justin, do you know, did they ask for an extension on their sales taxes or just an increase in the amount?
They have an active agent status through the end of 2026 this year. So they're not asking for additional time. They're underway. They started construction, I think, last summer.
Got it.
And they have a reasonable time frame to finish the project. That's not being questioned or asked for an extension. It's just cost escalations for their construction, and we're simply being asked to match the budget. The IDA's administrative fee actually will get supplemented in a like amount. The IDA will another 10,000 or something in administrative fee for providing this benefit.
I do not have the project timeline memorized of when it was supposed to be completed, but if that's,
Set to expire at the end of this year.
which means at that point, any construction costs will have been made by that point, because that's when the sales tax exemption ends. So I would assume 2027.
Well, yeah, they haven't asked for an extension yet, so this benefit will back on the end of the year. Hopefully we'll be done by then.
Yeah, it would be rare to see them ask for this and an extension, so they must be on time, just over budget. And if there's any other questions, or no other questions, do we have a motion to approve the supplemental project authorization? Anyone on the board?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And just our Albert and Alex absences. And so the resolution for supplemental project authorizing resolution of the Troy Industrial Development Authority relating to the appointment of 504 Broadway Holdings LLC as its agent to undertake a certain project, accepting an updated application for financial assistance, approving the provision of additional financial assistance to the company in furtherance of the project, and approving the execution and delivery of certain amendments and documents relative has been approved. That's the only IDA new business related to ongoing projects, but we do have a special guest today, Victoria Storrs. Thank you for spending the time waiting, and we have a brief presentation, and then we'll open it up to, some comments from the board. Victoria is here on behalf of Storrs Associates to, this is what we brought up at the last meeting when the packet was sent out with her proposal for third-party, two things going here, third-party review of pilot applications and the process in that, and then also potentially engaging for revision of our UTEP, the Uniform Tax Exemption Policy. So Victoria, the floor is yours.
May I sit rather than towering over everyone
That's probably
this
more
morning?
comfortable, yes. And thank you for coming in person. It was put as an option, and we like it when people show up.
Oh, yeah, I like to see people. I did even before we were all shut down for a few years. So yes, I did send over some PowerPoint slides, and I gave Danae an old-fashioned flash drive this morning, and I am going to pass around some of my business cards, and while you're sending these around, I will say my first order of business is going to be going forward to correct everything to say Troy Industrial Development Authority. I apologize for having made an assumption about the name from the letter A.
How do I find the screen that I want to search this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Need more coffee. I have found that Zoom changes its processes every once in a while, and it did so recently.
It's really fun when it's, and you go to click and you're like, oh my God.
What happened?
So I'll just add, Victoria, I didn't know if you got a chance to meet, because Stephanie, you were at the conference last week. Was that last week?
It was just last week.
Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to meet
No,
you.
we did not, right.
We were chatting.
Now.
Yeah.
A little bit while the LDC was wrapping up.
Great.
So I think this is good enough. We can move forward. You've all had a very busy morning. So thank you. I was, as I said, I'm happy to be here in person. I was asked to submit a proposal to provide some third-party consulting services similar to what I do for other IDAs in the region and related elsewhere in the Northeast, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. As you may know, I've worked a lot with your counsel, Justin Miller, and so I very much appreciated his thoughtfulness toward what the IDA might need and his asking you to invite me to propose. So you have the proposal that was submitted in January, and I just want to talk about a couple of things that are in that. The project analyses, as your chair mentioned, is when you get a new project, or in the case this morning, an increase in the construction material sales tax. What I do for my IDA clients is I engage in a formal process where I am reviewing their documents, I'm looking at their application, I'm looking at their numbers, and it's really to analyze and present to the board materials on which you can make a confident judgment that the if not for test is passed and the project genuinely does need financial assistance, and you've got a good sense of the decision that you're making is good for the community. In these circumstances, which is what I would recommend for you, is the applicant, your developer, your private owner, is paying a fixed fee up front, but my work is, so you're not paying for it, my work is only and ever solely for the IDA. I don't work for a developer in the same community where I'm working for an IDA. So you're passing through the cost just as you do with many of your council fees. I work with a number of IDAs throughout the state, but everyone has a little bit of a different process, a little bit of a different report, and there's pieces of the analysis that you could choose to do depending on the project. So that's a bit of a bread and butter, the project analyses. We'll talk about that first. I also offer the advisory services, as your chair said. Right now, your uniform tax exemption policy is a little bit old, and your project evaluation policy is one page. As IDAs come under more pressure throughout the state, and as people like you, you're trying to a process of continuous improvement to serve the community, it can be a good time to look at what you're doing and say, okay, what can we do better? And what are people doing in the state that we haven't had time to research because you have lives and jobs. This isn't a full-time job by any means. It's a full-time job for me. And that would be, if you wanted to engage Stores Associates for that, that would be paid for out of IDA funds. So Stores Associates LLC, I'm founded in 2021. I've been in economic development consulting for more than 10 years. I'm also the chair of Industrial Development Agency, the town of Bethlehem across the river. We don't compete. Very happy to be here as partners in building the region. Economic development is a broad field from strategic plans to target industry studies. Because I have a public finance background and a bond market background, I do a lot more in what we call development finance, which is working with IDAs that, if not for test, is the pilot a good fit? What are the effects on the taxing jurisdictions? Fit with the background that I have in financial markets. I'll also do special districts and value capture. We don't see that much in New York State, but tax increment financing is a tool that a lot of other states are able to use. I work with, at this point, 3 other IDAs on a regular basis in that I analyze every or almost every project for them. And so I call this a house doctor arrangement. And what that lets me do is be not just someone you call to prepare a report, but someone that you can call to talk something through, to have a policy looked at. So a house doctor and advisor, which does make me a little bit different from some of the other economic development firms who can do a really good report, but aren't necessarily wanting to be that first card in your Rolodex. So moving on to the next slide. I'll speak very briefly to this on the project evaluation. The purpose of this is to apply a consistent review standard to all of your projects through an objective third-party analysis. And the process is already, you have an extensive application. For a real project evaluation, if you look very deeply into that, so you've got an additional advisor supporting you in your review and understanding. a project evaluation that goes in depth with a third party also gives you the opportunity to have someone look into things that you don't have the time to look into. So for example, does this project, is it a building with a green roof? Are there special sustainability, are there special safety aspects to it? And you've got then a partner who can look into that and say, well, one of the reasons it costs more is it's concrete construction, not frame, and that's good to the neighborhood because of safety and fireproofing. So these things can be learned a little bit more easily than when you're looking at what's in your application. And the if not for test, applicants for years in New York State were simply asked, check a box to say, if not for the agency assistance, the authority assistance, the project wouldn't go forward. Everybody checks the box. As time goes by, organizations are saying, well, is that true? And of course, there's pressure from the state you're very well aware of. And so what I do is I look at pro forma cash flows, capital structure, and really try to get a quantitative answer to the if not for question. So going a tiny bit deeper into that on the next slide. The if not for, I'm looking at capital structure, debt costs, the pro forma revenues from housing is something that you look at a lot. So it's rents at the different levels, whether it's income restricted, mixed income, and attainable market rate, an expense analysis, and I can benchmark that to say, well, they say they need it, but they have a 90% expense ratio, and that's a red flag that you as the board members need to know that they're demonstrating a financial need, but they're not necessarily demonstrating sound management. Then you can ask questions and get to a better understanding. Most of my clients will have me look at, one or two pilots from a policy, and then if a project is unusual or it's catalytic, you have the option to say, no, we're really going to work with these folks specifically. I benchmark for the reasonableness of rates of return. What's the internal rate of return? Is it around what you would get with or without IDA assistance? A question that a lot of IDAs find themselves having to answer. When they're local, like you guys, you might have to answer it in the grocery store or in the newspaper. That business is getting a 20% rate of return. Like, well, no, we did look at that. The benefit cost ratio, and then I can also do the economic impact of the construction and operations. Some of my clients also have me estimate for housing the incremental cost of serving, 25 new households or 10 new students in the school district. That's something to talk about. So this process does satisfy the state's requirement that a benefit cost or cost benefit study be done, but it really is intended not just to check that box, but to give you a tool for your discussion and for your decision. So we go to the next slide, and this can be available to you. In just the 5 years that I have been on my own, I used to work at a larger firm in economic development, and in 2021 I went solo. I've done 27 projects for the City of Yonkers IDA, very similar analyses. I'm still working with the Port Chester IDA on a multi-phase redevelopment of an old hospital site. Is really a brownfield, so it's many pieces coming together in a part of their community where they wanted a catalytic investment, where they wanted to change. So we've been going through that piece by piece for the past few years. Most IDAs, especially at the county level, don't need to get individual taxing jurisdiction permission for every single pilot. Rockland County IDA does, and so I've been working with the school district, the North Rockland Central School District, because they have to go through the same kind of decision-making that an IDA does every time someone wants a pilot. And for them, it's been really rewarding and also challenging because, unlike you, where you have a history, they're just starting up. And I've done project evaluations across the river in Green Island and looking at build-out scenarios and other things in Massachusetts and Connecticut. So that's specifically the project evaluation piece. And what I want to do is go through just a couple slides on the advisory and then open it up for all of the questions that you could have. So the purpose of the policy advisory services is to make sure that your board members and your staff are supported by clear and effective policies. That when someone has a question, someone is saying, well, why did you make this decision? You can say, please read our uniform tax exemption policy. We're being consistent with the policy. And so the first idea that, I was thinking about from the information that I was giving, and Jeff and Danae made themselves available for a little bit yesterday, in modernizing your UTAP, which is a little bit old, one of the tools that I've seen community use and help them establish is a scoring rubric. You've got your quantitative goals for the if not for test. You care about the taxing jurisdictions, but you can care about sustainability. You can care about development in a critical location, and that can be put into your policy, what you value. And that gives you a tool to say, yeah, you're really plain vanilla, but you're great, and maybe the really great one gets a more generous pilot because they're incurring additional expenses. The other idea is to have that basic pilots for simple and straightforward. I say that, I know they never are. Try to guide most of the applicants that would be coming into a known structure and format, and reserve the negotiations and the consideration of something else for projects that are really special. So it's not just the policy, but to look at your evaluation process. Are there, things that take too long, things you want to spend more time at? Try to lay out the steps in really a flow chart. And that's not a heavy lift, but not everybody does it. Your application format is based on what was the standard of some several years ago, not readily digital. So a shorter application can be easier for you to read. And then ongoing advisory service when I'm a house doctor. I like to have those conversations. So that's the kinds of policy advisory services that are in the proposal. And then go to the last slide, is just to let you know some of the things that I've been doing in this. I hosted, I don't know how many of you have been not just to the EDC conference in Albany, but to the IDA academies that they have throughout the state, where it can be half a day or a whole day, and they really pay more attention to what training board members and staff. And so I designed and hosted a session on getting to board approval for one of those about a year ago. And I actually had a couple of my clients come and talk about their decision-making process and what helps the board feel comfortable. I just finished a performance metrics and benchmarking study for one of my clients. It's about 50 pages. I looked at the projects that they had done, that they had approved. They're trying to be consistent, and the implementation of an online database that can generate reports for the members is underway. And always as a consultant, you don't ever want your study to sit. So I'm really grateful to be involved in the implementation of the recommendations there too. So I work as an advisor for all of my clients in this way, and I have actually created or participated in the creation of a couple of uniform tax exemption policies. I am working on revising it for the town of Bethlehem IDA. We're not as busy as you guys are, so we're taking our time. But it's a little bit of an organic, what I'm learning from clients, what I'm bringing to them, and then what I, like you, am able to do in my highly paid job as a board member. But that's all that I want to say right up front, and I will be more than happy to answer questions. There's a blank slide that follows.
I'll start with just a statement of heavy support for this, because I think all of our goals, because we serve on terms for this, should be to leave these boards better than we found them. And that speaks no ill of anyone previous. It's just, that's a continuous improvement. And consistency is very helpful. The board resources that we're talking about in the advisory role are very helpful. Yeah, educating a board, and I mean, in a perfect world, an IDA would have, every IDA in the state would have a Victoria on their full-time payroll. We don't live in that world, so we have to go outside for that, and there are people that do this. Victoria's one of them, and I think it's, in the absence, it's not just in the absence of an executive director. This is to help with, frankly, a diminishing talent pool that exists, and finding someone that can work, so finding someone for a position of an executive director doesn't mean they're going to have every skill set you need to identify everything that she covered. I don't think that's, it's not a reasonable thing. So some people are going to come in and they're going to be more negotiators. Some people are going to be more what the precedent is. And like Randy, for example, made his own spreadsheet and review for how to analyze these. All of that's great, but we need someone, I think we need something like this to help go from the next person to the next person, because that position does serve at the pleasure of the mayor, and having a background, a consistency to follow that. We go out of house for council with Justin. I think this is something that's reasonable to go out of house for as well. If it were a full-time position in the city that just went through like today, it would be like, it wouldn't be an out of house thing. But again, this isn't the way these are set up. So this is something that I saw for the first time in action in Green Island, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like I would love to know more about this. And there's, to speak to the board and reminding your questions, there are two things we're looking at. There's nothing on the table today for approval of this. So we can come back with more questions later if you want to prepare more, or if you want to know something with Victoria offline. I'm sure she can make herself available, but the floor is yours, board, if you have any questions while we're here. And sorry if it feels rushed. That, again, I thank you for your time, but I'm sorry that we're approaching the hour, and I don't want this to feel rushed, so I'd rather not put anything on the table today for decisions until we have the other board members here and everyone can ask some questions offline if they need to as well.
Do the other IDAs that you consult with use the same scoring criteria as what we would be using?
No,
Okay, it's not apples to apples, probably.
no, there are certain concepts, like I keep saying, sustainability, green, public safety. It's what that community wants, especially if they've just redone zoning.
Right.
Based on what you've read so far about the current policies, how long do you estimate it would take you to make a recommendation for, policy changes or?
I think it's a couple of months process. Okay. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. One of the most important things that would be very specific to Troy would be the qualitative. What is it that you really want to communicate to your developers that's important to you?
If we were to, if we wanted to, for example, like I posed this question to you yesterday, if we wanted to, for example, at this meeting approve, I don't have a formal motion for us, but bring Victoria on for the pilot review. I mean, the one point you made was like this, which you mentioned is like the standard pilot could be, that's weeks. That might be something we circulate, and that's a more boilerplate process. But then when we expand it into like stretch goals, I don't know what you'd call it, like that might take more time. And we can make it as long of a process as we want. But the thing I was looking for was, in any of these examples, does it take longer than 6 months? And the answer was no. So that made me feel good. But granted, the board could make it take that long if we really wanted to, if we would just kept changing it or amending it. But it seems to be a reasonable thing to happen within, let's say, a quarter. By the end of the second quarter, I would hope would be my target.
But before we made those changes, we would still be able to have the services, the review of the pilots as they come.
Yes, separate.
I think that's a lot of work that we.
Yeah, we could engage on. We could put this over. We could opt to engage on Victoria's services for pilot review, for example, today, and table the section of the advisory until, or Like, there's no formal motion in front for this, so we can make it what we like right now with Justin's advisement on that, but,
Yep. I can flesh that out a little
Yeah.
bit and support, what I recommend to clients like you, where you're going to have a few different things that I could be doing over time, is a general services contract. And so all of that is just done up front, and you don't have to think about it. So, for example, this morning in my email box, a task order has just come in from the city of Yonkers for additional work. We didn't have to get the lawyers involved and redo the contract. And most of that, there's a set fee. I'm going to do this for X dollars. That's also in the contract. It changes over time with notice. And then separate, so that's the easiest way to handle the ongoing project evaluations and get those as quickly as you have one come in. You don't have to wait and see, oh, well, we got to talk to Victoria and it's going to take 6 weeks. My contracts always have a section, not everyone uses it very much, where it's like additional services. And that's where I would put advisory, so that when you thought about that some more, we could flesh that out, and if you wished, you could activate that.
So it sounds like we would be looking at like a master services agreement for like a year, for example, with like a not to exceed X amount, just to get started, to cover whatever may come down the pipe that we're not sure what those things are. And then as we find other things, the other items, and then it would be a new task order.
Yes.
To clarify the scope.
What would engaging with the services on the pilot portion be? Because we talked about how that comes from the pilot application, essentially. Like, it's coming out of, that's, again, dividing that. Like, what would that agreement, is that a separate agreement besides the general services one, or is it?
No, the general services I would structure as an umbrella agreement that could encompass any of the work that you wanted to do. So in the proposal, it's a pretty clear scope for the project evaluation services based on what I'm doing regularly. And my pages are a little bit out of order here. So there's a basic scope that would be in an attachment to the contract. And you could say, okay, we have ABC LLC is coming in and they want to do 500 units of mixed income housing. We think it could be a good project. Please look at this. And they would pay the fee. You don't pay it, they do. And no one has ever balked at that.
So full disclosure of this, we've not reached out to anyone else, Justin or I or Danae. But I mean, we don't have any current applications in front of us, so I don't feel like we have to make a decision today. But like, I would be in favor of moving forward with this. But do we need to see like what? Yeah, I guess I should know this, but I don't know what the next step is to put that forward, or do we want to wait until the next meeting to have something more formal in front of us to decide on for that?
I'm happy to send a sample general services contract that might give you something, if you're not feeling the pressure, because of course as a consultant I want you to say yes to our associates, but I also know that you need to be comfortable. I can send to you a sample general services agreement. I think that could answer some of the structural questions.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Any other questions while we have Victoria? Services or anything? Great.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Pardon, I'm just scribbling that down so I don't forget to send this over. It was a real pleasure meeting you. It's nice to be in Troy. I very much appreciated, Justin, your tip about the parking.
Great, thanks, Victoria, appreciate it.
Hope to see you all again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, that concludes our new business for the meeting. We're going to go into strict past old business and into the financials. Matt.
All right. Our first report is the statement of financial position. As of January 31st, we had total assets of $1,738,937, with $1,568,247 of that in cash. We had total liabilities of $467,079, which left us with a fund balance of $1,271,858. The only significant change to the statement of financial position is related to the first round of pilot billings that went out. And lastly, we have the statement of activity. For the month of January, we ran a deficit of $5,239. Our most significant source of revenue was our monthly interest earnings, and then our largest expenses was in our professional services.
Any questions from Matt from the board?
Matt, could you, I don't know if it's a big deal, can you add a column of the prior year comparison? Because especially at the beginning of the year, it's so hard to,
For
that statement of activity and budget.
yeah, I can do that.
That, I think, yeah, would be very, just to know, like, if we're on pace properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else? Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. No, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Okay, let's go right into the CRC. Do we, no, we don't. Leave it open. Good thing, I don't suppose you have printouts for that one.
It's over there, sorry.
Oh,
I think, bottom, the agreement.
I think it's the bottom of that one.
Yeah, I
actually.
just wanna make sure I printed it up. So I'll start financials.
Okay, hang tight, everyone. We got one item on this, and we're gonna start, I'll call to order those being passed out, the Troy, New York Capital Resource Corporation Board of Directors meeting, February 20th, 2026, 11:07 a.m. We're gonna start with the approval of minutes from the September 26th and October 17th board, and not, oh, right, we didn't have them during, board meetings. From those present that, were here, we have everyone that was here at that meeting, and this one. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes, or do we have any, or first, do we have any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve those?
Not here for either.
Yeah, we had, present was Jeff, Alex, Albert, Michael, Tasha, so we have 3 out of, no, I don't know if that works today. No, I read that wrong. And for the other one, we had, no, we need Alex back. Okay, next one. On to new business. We have an RPI bond issuance application and initial resolution. This is something that has been in the works, back and forth between Justin and RPI, and Mike and, from RPI for a little while. Justin, would you give us a summary of this, before we go, into questions from the board?
Yeah, sure. The CRC board was established organization of the IDA in 2008, when IDA lost the ability to help civic facility projects like RPI and not-for-profits. So that is a bit of background of why the CRC exists. Over the years, RPI has utilized the CRC as a local development tool to refinance their debt and also finance new capital projects, and that's what's before us today. They've submitted an application to refinance bonds that were issued in 2015, and also to help finance new capital projects that are largely facilities upgrades, maintenance, and repairs and replacements, not new buildings necessarily, but ongoing campus improvements and modifications. So today's just the first bite at the apple, the Kevin O'Brien euphemism. We're accepting their application, and over the course of the next month, we'll have a public hearing that's required to issue tax-exempt bonds. And at the March meeting, we'll consider an approval to issue up to, I think, $66 million and tax exempt bonds for the benefit of the Institute. So that's the quick summary. If the board has any questions or if the representatives of the Institute want to chime in, now's the time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Mike, I see
Justin.
you're, great, yeah, the floor is yours, Mike.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Justin. Nice to meet you all, albeit virtually. The school break for kids and the weather have made this a little tricky for me, but Sean Spath is also in the room with you all. He's a member of the RPI finance team. He helps out with all things cash, debt, investment management. So I've been with RPI since 2019. I'm the current assistant vice president for investment operations and the treasurer. Some of you may have worked with Sue Proskin in the past when she came forward with prior debt issuances. But as Justin mentioned, this 66 up to 66 million is what our board internally has approved. That's 46 million for the refinancing of the Series 2015 tax exempt issuance, and then up to 20 for new money. That new money is going to be a combination of reimbursements for expenses that we've actually paid since October of 2025. And some critical near-term, as Justin said, land improvement, building improvements. So nothing new big going up, but us just taking care of our 200-plus-year-old institution.
Any questions from the board?
I had one question myself, if I can.
Oh.
Jack, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm Sean
Yeah,
Scott,
that's
by
fine.
the way, from RPI. I know I've gone back and forth with Danae and Justin, and I actually had one question for Justin. And I just caught this now, Justin. I just noticed that the Exhibit A on the resolution is, the list of potential projects is from that first draft I had sent to you, whereas the second draft had just a little more detail in there. I can imagine that's an issue, but I wanted to just bring it up now before this move forward, just because it's not necessarily finalized yet, but that was one thing I caught just looking at this now. So,
Yeah, we can swap in the updated exhibit of capital projects. That's not a problem.
okay, thank you. I just wanted to verify. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Sean. And just to that point, for everyone's benefit, I think we are still finalizing that project list. We have a couple different projects. It becomes a question of what will be included in the deal and what will be handled outside of the deal. But that's, we are.
And you guys will be here for the public hearing for that portion as well, I imagine,
Yep.
so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we want to push this forward into the public hearing phase and approve the application as it stands. Sorry, go ahead, Sue.
So move.
Oh, so, thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We just have our two absences. So the resolution of the City of Troy Capital Resource Corporation authorizing taking official action toward the issuance of up to $66 million principal amount of tax-exempt revenue, refunding bonds for the purpose of financing a certain project for the benefit of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, determining the compliance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to such project, describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated by the issuer with respect to such project, and authorizing a public hearing with respect to such financing undertaking such project is passed. Okay, thanks, gentlemen, for attending today. We appreciate you showing up in person or remotely, Mike, and good luck with the kids. And that concludes our new business. We have no more old business. Yeah, we'll see you guys next month. Don't feel like you have to stick around if you don't want to. Can we go into the financials with Matt? Much smaller sheet.
All right, our first report is the statement of financial position. As of January 31st, we had total assets of $283,556, with $68,556 of that in cash, with no liabilities, which left us with a fund balance of $283,556. There's no significant change to the statement of financial position for the month of January. And lastly, we have the statement of activity. For the month of January, we ran a deficit of $315. Our only source of revenue was our monthly interest earnings, and the largest expenses was the accounting fees.
I know we always ask this, but when are we gonna get that 215?
I think we budgeted it for, probably at the end of this, at the end of this year at the
Yeah.
earliest. At least half of that would be returned to the CRC, and then the other half in 27, but
Okay,
I think that kind of depends on the LDC's cash flow at that point, but we're planning earliest at the end of this year.
okay. For half of it, got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt, CRC budget? Or do we have a motion to approve the financials?
Motion.
No, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, then just our two absences, and do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. I owe everyone like a lunch or something, because